I watched my daughter-in-law sign the deed transfer papers with my son's forged signature, and I didn't say a word. I just stood there in the hallway outside the lawyer's office, looking through the glass panel in the door, watching her pen move across the page. She was wearing the pearl necklace I gave her on her wedding day. Her hand was steady. She smiled at the notary, and I realized in that moment that she'd been planning this for longer than I wanted to know. I should tell you how I got there. But first, you need to understand something about lake houses. They're not just property. They're not investments. They're the place where your children learn to swim, where your husband taught your son to fish at dawn, where you scattered his ashes when the cancer finally took him. My husband built that house with his father in 1987. Every board, every window. I watched them work through the summers. I was pregnant with David when they poured the foundation dots, so when Jessica, my daughter-in-law, asked if she and David could use it for a weekend getaway, I said yes. Of course I said yes. They'd been married 3 years. She seemed sweet, quiet. She worked in real estate, which I thought was impressive. David adored her, and I was trying. I was really trying to be the kind of mother-in-law who didn't interfere, who didn't hover, who let her son live his life. That was for months ago. The first sign was small. I drove up to the lake house on a Tuesday in late September to close it up for winter, and the locks had been changed. I stood there with my key in my hand, the key I'd had for 37 years, and it wouldn't turn. I called David. He didn't answer. I called Jessica. She picked up on the first ring. "Oh," she said, "we upgraded the security. There have been break-ins in the area. I'll get you a new key." Her voice was warm, apologetic, reasonable. I never got the key. I should have known then, but I didn't want to know. That's the truth. I didn't want to believe that this woman, this person I'd welcomed into our family, who called me mom, who sent me recipe videos and texted me photos of their dog, was capable of what my gut was screaming at me. So I made excuses. I told myself she forgot. I told myself she was busy. I told myself David would handle it. David didn't handle it. When I finally confronted him, we were at Sunday dinner at his place. Jessica was in the kitchen. I could hear her humming. David looked exhausted. He'd lost weight. There were circles under his eyes that hadn't been there at Christmas. The lake house. I said quietly, "I need a key." He looked at me like I'd asked him to solve a math problem in a language he didn't speak. "Jessica's managing all that," he said. "She's handling the property stuff. It's easier. She knows about real estate. It's my house, David. I know, Mom, but we're taking care of it. We're making improvements. She's got contractors lined up for the spring. New deck, maybe a boathouse. It's going to increase the value." I felt something cold move through my chest. I don't want to increase the value. I want to use my house. He rubbed his face. "Can we not do this right now?" Jessica appeared in the doorway with a smile and a wooden spoon. "Do what?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and she looked back at me with eyes that were friendly and empty at the same time. "Nothing." David said. I left before dessert. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my husband, about the way he'd insisted on hand sanding every railing because he wanted it smooth enough that our future grandchildren wouldn't get splinters. He never met those grandchildren. We never had them. David and Jessica said they were waiting, focusing on careers. I didn't push Dot at 2 in the morning. I got up and started going through the filing cabinet in my office. I found the deed, my name, my husband's name. It had passed to me when he died. It was mine, solely mine. I'd never transferred it. I'd never signed anything. I'd mentioned, maybe once, maybe twice over the years, that someday it would go to David. Of course it would. He was my only child. But someday wasn't today. I put the deed in my purse. The next morning I called a lawyer. Not our family lawyer. A different one. A woman named Patricia who'd been recommended by a friend. I didn't tell her everything. I just asked a simple question. If someone wanted to transfer property without my knowledge, how would they do it? She said it would be difficult, nearly impossible without forged documents or identity theft. They'd need a notarized signature. They'd need to file with the county. They need to make it look legitimate. Why are you asking? She said, just curious. I told her. I wasn't curious. I was terrified. I started watching. Not obviously. Not dramatically. Just paying attention. I noticed that Jessica had started posting photos of the lake house on her personal Instagram. She'd never done that before. The captions were strange, possessive. Our little escape. Forever grateful for this place. Building. Our future here. Not her. Future. Not David's family home. Our future. I went to the county recorder's office. I told them I wanted to check on my property records. The clerk was helpful. Bored, maybe, but helpful. She pulled up the file. Looks like there's a transfer pending. She said, my mouth went dry. What kind of transfer? Deed transfer. From you too. Let me see. David Whitmore and Jessica Whitmore. Joint tenancy. It's waiting on final approval. Should be processed next week. I felt the floor tilt. I didn't sign anything, I said. She looked at me with the kind of tired sympathy you see in government offices. You'll need to talk to a lawyer about that. I already had one. Patricia told me I had options. I could file a police report. I could contest the transfer. I could confront Jessica directly. But she also told me something else. She told me that real estate fraud cases are messy. They take time. They destroy families. And even if I won, even if I proved the signature was forged, the damage would already be done. You'd be accusing your daughter-in-law of a felony, she said. Your son would have to choose sides. He should choose mine. She gave me a look that said she'd seen this before. Should and will are different things. I thought about that for a long time. I thought about David, about the way he looked at me over dinner, tired, distant, trapped. I thought about the way Jessica controlled the conversation, the plans, the narrative. I thought about how she'd isolated him so gradually that he probably didn't even realize it was happening. And I thought about my husband, about what he would do. He wouldn't burn the house down to prove a point. He'd be smart, patient. He'd wait for the right moment. So I did something I'm not proud of. I let it happen. I watched them finalize the transfer. I watched Jessica bring in a notary, probably someone she knew from work, someone who didn't ask too many questions. I watched her forge my signature. I watched her file the paperwork. And I didn't stop her, but I documented everything. I hired a private investigator, not a dramatic one, not someone from a movie, just a retired police officer who did background checks and surveillance. I had him follow the paper trail, confirm the forgery, photograph the documents, track the notary, build a file. It took 6 weeks. During that time, Jessica invited me to lunch. She was cheerful. She talked about the renovation she was planning for the lake house. She showed me paint samples. She asked my opinion on countertops. She called me Mom. I smiled. I nodded. I played along. You're so generous to let us take care of the place, she said. Family takes care of family, I said. She squeezed my hand. Her grip lasted a beat too long. I wanted to pull away, but I didn't. By mid-November, the transfer was complete. The lake house was legally in David and Jessica's names. Joint tenancy with right of survivorship, which meant if something happened to David, Jessica would own it outright. That detail bothered me more than I wanted to admit. I started paying closer attention to David. I invited him to coffee. Just the two of us. He looked worse, thinner. His hand shook slightly when he picked up his cup. Are you okay? I asked. Just work stress, he said. How's Jessica? She's great. She's really excited about the lake house. She wants to have Thanksgiving there this year. She's inviting her whole family. I felt something sharp in my chest. Her whole family. Yeah. Her parents. Her sister. Some cousins. She thinks it'll be nice. A new tradition. That's my house, I said before I could stop myself. He looked at me. Really looked at me. And for just a second, I saw my son. The real one. The one who used to tell me everything. The one who trusted me. It's our house now, Mom, he said quietly. Jessica handled the transfer last month. You sign off on it. I didn't sign anything. David. He froze. His face went pale. What? I never signed a deed transfer. I never agreed to give her that house. He stared at me. I watched him process it. Watched him try to fit this information into the reality his wife had built for him. That's not possible, he said. She showed me the paperwork. She said you wanted us to have it. She said you were downsizing and it made sense. She lied. He stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. I need to talk to her. David, wait, but he was already gone. I sat there for a long time, staring at his untouched coffee. I just detonated a bomb in the center of his marriage, and I didn't know if he'd survive the blast. He didn't call me for 3 days. When he finally did, his voice was flat. Jessica says there's been a misunderstanding. She says you verbally agreed to the transfer months ago. She says she has emails. She doesn't have emails, David, because I never sent them. She showed me some messages. They look like they're from you. My stomach dropped. She faked them. Mom, please, just stop, okay? Just stop. This is tearing me apart. Jessica's devastated. She thinks you're trying to ruin our marriage. She thinks you've never accepted her. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From my wife? From the woman I love. Do you hear yourself? I heard myself. I also heard the desperation in his voice, the exhaustion, the pleading. I have proof, I said quietly. Silence. What kind of proof? Meet me tomorrow. Alone. I'll show you. He hung up. I didn't know if he'd come. He did. We met at a diner 20 minutes outside of town. Neutral territory. He looked awful. Like he hadn't slept. Like he'd been crying. I showed him everything. The investigator's report. The forged signature analysis. The timeline. The notary's statement. The photographs. He read it all in silence. When he finished, he put his head in his hands. I don't understand, he whispered. Why would she do this? I don't know. We're married. What's mine is hers anyway. Why go through all this? That was the question, wasn't it? And I've been thinking about it for weeks. There was only one answer that made sense, and it was the one I didn't want to say out loud. Joint tenancy with right of survivorship, I said softly. He looked up at me. What? The way she structured the deed. If something happens to you, she owns it outright. I have no claim. His face changed. I watched understanding move through him like poison. You think she's planning to. He couldn't finish the sentence. I think she wanted to make sure I couldn't interfere. I think she's been planning her future. He stood up so fast the table shook. That's insane. You're talking about murder. You're accusing my wife of planning to murder me. I'm accusing her of fraud, I said. The rest is just what the paperwork says. I need to go. David, I need to think. He left. Again. I sat there with the evidence spread out on the table, feeling like the worst mother in the world, but also like the only one paying attention. That night, David called me at midnight. I confronted her. My heart stopped. What did she say? She cried. She said you've always hated her. She said you're jealous that I chose her over you. She said the signature must have been a clerical error, that she never meant to deceive anyone. She said if it's that important to you, she'll transfer it back. Do you believe her? Long silence. I don't know what I believe anymore. Did she show you the email she claims I sent? Yeah, and they're from your email address. But the writing doesn't sound like you. And the dates are weird. Like they might have been backdated. She created a fake email account, David, or she hacked mine. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. I heard him breathing on the other end of the line. Ragged. Broken. What do I do? He asked Dot, and that's when I realized he wasn't asking me how to save his marriage. He was asking me how to get out. Do you love her? I asked. I don't know. I thought I did. But now, I don't know who she is. Then you need to protect yourself, legally, financially. You need to see a lawyer. She'll destroy me in a divorce. She'll destroy you if you stay. Another long silence. I'm scared, Mom. I know, baby. I know. We made a plan. Quiet. Careful. He'd consult with a divorce attorney. He'd start separating finances. He'd gather his own evidence, and he'd pretend, for a little while longer, that everything was fine. It was the hardest thing I'd ever asked him to do. 2 weeks later, Jessica called me. "I think we should talk. Just the two of us. Clear the air." Every instinct I had screamed no. But I needed to know what she knew. I needed to know if David had slipped, if she suspected. "Okay," I said. "Where?" "The lake house. Tomorrow afternoon." Of course. The lake house. The scene of the crime. The place she thought she owned. "I'll be there," I said. I told Patricia. I told the investigator. I told David. Everyone said don't go. Everyone said it was dangerous. But I went anyway. I drove up on a gray December afternoon. The trees were bare. The lake was still. The house looked cold and empty, even with smoke coming from the chimney. Jessica's car was in the driveway. I sat in my car for a full minute, staring at the house my husband built. Then I got out. She answered the door in yoga pants and a cashmere sweater. She looked relaxed, happy, like she'd just finished meditating. "Come in," she said. I made tea. The house was warm. She'd been decorating. New furniture, new art, nothing I recognized. She'd erased us. We sat in the living room. She poured tea from a pot I'd never seen before. "I want to apologize," she said. I didn't respond. I should have been more transparent about the property transfer. I thought I was helping. I thought I was taking something off your plate. But I see now how it looked. I see how it hurt you. She was good. I had to give her that. She sounded sincere, remorseful. "Why did you forge my signature?" I asked. Her smile didn't waver. Not even a flicker. "I didn't forge anything. There must have been a miscommunication with the notary. I gave her documents you'd signed at the lawyer's office last year. Remember, when you updated your will?" "I never updated my will." "You did. David was with you. He can confirm, except David wasn't with me, because I never went. She was building an alternate reality, counting on my age, my memory, my isolation." "Jessica," I said carefully, "I know what you did. I have proof. I have witnesses. I have a forensic analysis of the signature. You're going to give me back my house, and you're going to do it quietly, or I'm going to press charges." She took a sip of her tea, set the cup down gently, smiled. Double quotes. "No, you won't." "Excuse me?" "You won't press charges, because if you do, David will never forgive you. He'll think you're a bitter old woman who can't let go, who ruins his life because you're lonely, and you'll lose him forever." My hands were shaking. "He knows the truth, does he?" Because when I talked to him this morning, he seemed pretty confused, pretty torn. He loves me. He wants to believe me. And you're asking him to choose between his mother and his wife. She leaned forward. Her eyes were bright, eager. "Who do you think he'll choose?" I wanted to throw the tea in her face. I wanted to scream, but I didn't, because she was right about one thing. David was torn, and if I pushed her hard, I might lose him. But she was wrong about everything else. "Okay," I said quietly. "You win. Keep the house. I don't want to fight anymore." She looked surprised, then pleased. "Really, really? I'm tired, Jessica. I just want my son to be happy." She reached across and squeezed my hand. "Thank you. This means so much. You'll see. We'll make this place beautiful. And you're always welcome here." I smiled. "I know." I left 20 minutes later. I drove home in silence, my hands tight on the wheel. When I got back, I called Patricia. "Do it," I said. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." The next morning, Patricia filed a criminal complaint for forgery and fraud. She also filed an emergency motion to void the deed transfer and restore the property to my name. She included every piece of evidence, every photo, every statement, every timeline. By noon, the police had contacted Jessica. By evening, David called me, sobbing. "She's saying you attacked her. She's saying you're making false allegations. She's saying you're trying to destroy us." I know what she's saying, David, but it's not true. And you know it's not true. The police are involved. Mom, the police. This is insane. She committed a crime. She's my wife, and I'm your mother. And she stole from me, and she lied to you. And if you can't see that, then I don't know what else to tell you. He hung up on me. I didn't hear from him for 2 weeks. During that time, the case moved forward. Jessica hired a lawyer, a good one. They argued it was all a misunderstanding, that I'd verbally agreed, that the notary had made an error, that I was experiencing cognitive decline. They submitted the fake emails as evidence. Patricia dismantled them in 48 hours. Wrong metadata, wrong server, amateur work. The notary cracked. Admitted Jessica had paid her cash to sign off on pre-signed documents. Admitted she never met me. The county voided the transfer. Jessica was charged with forgery and attempted fraud, and David filed for divorce. He didn't tell me he was doing it. I found out from Patricia, who heard from Jessica's lawyer, when I finally reached him. He sounded hollow. I can't do this anymore. He said, I can't be in the middle. I can't keep choosing. You're not in the middle, David. You're the victim. I don't feel like a victim. I feel like I lost everything. You lost a liar. I lost 3 years of my life. I lost someone I thought I knew. I lost my ability to trust anyone. He was right, and I didn't have an answer for that. The divorce took 6 months. Jessica fought for everything. The house they bought together, the cars, the savings. She even tried to claim emotional damages, arguing that my false allegations had destroyed her reputation. She lost. The criminal case took longer. It's still ongoing. But her lawyer is already negotiating a plea deal, probation, restitution, no jail time. She'll be fine. People like her always are. David moved into an apartment downtown. He doesn't talk to Jessica. He doesn't talk to me much either. He's in therapy. He's trying to rebuild. He says he needs space. I give it to him. Last week, I drove up to the lake house for the first time since everything happened. It was mine again. Legally, officially, the locks had been changed back. The furniture Jessica bought was gone. I walked through the rooms, touching the walls my husband built. I stood on the deck he sanded by hand, and I felt nothing. Not victory, not relief, just exhaustion. I didn't fight for the house because I wanted it back. I fought because letting her win felt like letting him die all over. Again, like letting everything he built mean nothing. But now that I have it, I don't know what to do with it. I sat on the deck until sunset, watching the water turn dark. I thought about calling David, asking if he wanted to come up, spend a weekend, fish at dawn like he used to with his father. But I didn't, because some things, once broken, don't go back together the same way. I locked up the house and drove home in the dark. I don't know if David will ever forgive me for pressing charges. I don't know if he understands that I did it to protect him, not to hurt him. I don't know if he'll ever come back to the lake house, but the house is here, and it's his. Whenever he's ready, if he's ever ready, that's all I have.